Have you ever felt like, no matter how hard you try, money slips through your fingers like water? You go to work every day. You have dreams, you have ambition. But by the end of the month, your bank account still drops to zero. Why does that happen? Today's story begins in a small town, where a young man full of ambition lived, just like me, just like you. He wasn't lacking in determination or desire. He was only missing one thing, a deep understanding of the invisible habits silently pulling him down each day. And then on a cold, dark night, just when he thought life had closed its doors, he met a spirit, someone who had made the exact same mistakes. And that spirit revealed to him 7 things that, if not changed, would keep him poor forever. Not because of circumstances, but because of what he was unknowingly repeating every single day. In this video, I'll tell you that story. And more importantly, I'll help you turn each lesson from the story into real, practical actions in your life. Because sometimes, to change your life, you don't need a miracle. You just need to take a closer look at what you're already doing. Hold on tight, because right after this, you're about to discover something that could change your financial future forever. There's a kind of laziness you'll never see lying on a couch. It doesn't wear pajamas all day, and it doesn't sleep until noon. Instead, it looks very busy, yet it never moves forward. I call it disguised laziness. The kind of laziness that belongs to people who are always occupied, but never really touching what matters most. Have you ever found yourself thinking, I'll start learning that new skill after I clean my room. I'll call the client after I finish reading this article. Or, now's not the right time. I'll do it when I'm ready. Not long ago, I had a friend named Mike. Mike always said he wanted to open a small shop. He had the experience, the idea, even the initial capital. But every time I asked, so when will you start? He would reply, not yet. I'm still doing research, waiting for the economy to stabilize. 3 years passed. Mike stayed exactly where he was. Meanwhile, others who dared to start, dared to fail, and dared to adapt, they were already opening their second store. Laziness isn't about doing nothing. It's about avoiding what truly matters by keeping yourself busy with what doesn't. It's like mopping the floor while the kitchen is on fire. You feel useful, but you're actually falling behind. If you wait until you're ready to begin, you may never begin at all. The perfect moment doesn't exist. Only the courage to start and adjust along the way. And that is the first door to a life of struggle that many never realize they've walked through. But it's not the worst one, because there's something else, something that can keep you poor forever, even if you're already earning money. Let's explore that. In part 2, spending everything you earn, why saving must come first. Have you ever noticed, the moment your salary hits your account, you suddenly feel more generous? An extra meal out, a new shirt, or just something small. It's just a little thing, right? And then by the end of the month, you sigh and say, I don't know where all my money went. I once knew a girl named Jenna. She had a decent office job, with a salary that wasn't low. She always told herself, I'll start saving when my income increases. But every time her salary went up, so did her spending. Her daily coffee had to be from her favorite cafe. Every trip had to come with picture-perfect check-ins at luxury resorts. And somehow there was never anything left to save. When her car broke down, Jenna had to borrow from a friend. When she got sick, she panicked because she had no emergency fund. Saving doesn't come from how much you earn. It comes from how you prioritize it from the beginning. Smart people don't wait to see what's left at the end of the month. They save first and spend what's left after that. They treat saving like a non-negotiable bill, a payment to their future self. Let this quote become your financial motto. Don't save what's left after spending. Spend what's left after saving. Warren Buffett. Just starting with 10% a month can give you something most young people don't have. Peace of mind and options. Because one day when opportunity knocks, you won't need a loan to open the door. But even if you learn to save, if you never leave your comfort zone, you'll still be stuck in a steady loop that never takes you further. Let's move on to the next part. Fear of risk. Comfort is more expensive than you think. There's an uncomfortable truth. The comfort zone isn't free. In fact, it's one of the most expensive places you can live, because it quietly steals away opportunities you'll never even know you missed. I have a cousin named Tom. Tom was smart, great grades, thoughtful, and careful. He once got an offer to join a newly launched tech startup. The salary was modest, but it came with equity. He turned it down. "It's risky. What if it fails?" he said. Instead, he chose a steady office job in a stable company. 10 years later, that little startup became one of the most prominent tech unicorns in the US. One of Tom's classmates, who said yes to the offer back then, is now a millionaire. I don't share this to say you must take risks. I share it to remind you that avoiding risk doesn't make you safe. It just keeps you in place. Most of us don't stay poor because of a lack of opportunity. We stay stuck because we passed on opportunities, just because they came with a bit of risk. And so we remain in the comfort zone. The longer we stay, the softer it feels, and the harder it is to leave, like a warm couch on a cold winter night. But that very place is what holds us back for years. Risk isn't something to avoid. It's something to calculate and to embrace with a clear strategy. No one ever built an extraordinary life by playing it completely safe. And sometimes, the biggest risk is not changing anything at all. So ask yourself, am I choosing the safe path? Or am I turning away from the life I actually want? But even if you do find the courage to step out of your comfort zone, if you don't have the discipline to keep going, your efforts will fade and eventually disappear as if they never began. Let's move on to the next part. Lack of discipline. Why talent without consistency is useless. You know, I used to believe that passion alone was enough to succeed. But then I realized passion is like a flame, and discipline is the wood that keeps it burning. I have a friend, his name is Ray. Ray writes beautifully. His words are full of emotion, his ideas always bursting with energy. Every time he finished writing one piece, he'd take a week off to regain inspiration. One day Ray said, "I'm writing a book." A year later, that book still had only 10 pages. Meanwhile, another writer, not especially gifted, not flashy, wrote 1 page a day. In the same amount of time, she had published 2 books. Ray wasn't lacking in talent, but talent without discipline is like a fancy car with no fuel. So what is discipline? It's not forcing yourself to become a robot. It's choosing to do what needs to be done, even when you're not in the mood, even when no one's watching, especially when there are no immediate results. Sure, you can wake up one day and run 5 kilometers, but if you don't do it again the next day, and the day after, you'll stay far from the goal you once dreamed of reaching. Success doesn't come from one big push. It comes from small efforts, repeated consistently day after day. If you commit to just 1 hour of learning each night, 30 minutes of exercise each morning, or producing 1 video every week, you're already ahead of 90% of people who live only on momentary motivation. And if you find yourself stuck in the loop of procrastination, remember this: discipline is an act of kindness you give to your future self. But here's the thing: even if you have discipline, you take calculated risks, you save money, and avoid laziness. If you stop learning, the world will still pass you by, because the world waits for no one. And that's why we need to talk about the next part. Not learning, the fastest way to become irrelevant. The world changes every single day. New technologies are born, new jobs appear, and people's habits evolve month by month. And if you don't learn, don't adapt, don't refresh yourself, you'll find yourself being left behind, not because you're not capable, but because you're standing still while everything else is moving forward. I remember visiting an old phone repair shop once. The owner, an older man, used to be the most trusted technician in the neighborhood. But then smartphones came along, and everything changed. While other stores learned to repair touch screens, upgrade software, and adapt to new devices, he stuck to the old methods. Customers stopped coming. Eventually, he had to close his shop. You see, not learning is also a form of self-elimination. No one fired him. It was the market and life itself that silently replaced him with someone who adapted faster. Learning doesn't have to mean going back to school. It could be a book a month, a podcast while jogging, an online course at night, or simply a daily habit of asking, what did I learn today? Success doesn't come with degrees. It comes with your ability to learn fast, adapt quickly, and most importantly, never believe that you already know enough. And if you're feeling like you're not good enough, not ahead of the game, smile, because those with a learning mindset will always have the chance to start again and do better. But there's one more thing to be cautious of, because even if you learn well, work hard, stay disciplined, and save money, if you're surrounded by people who constantly drag you down, that environment will eventually erode even the strongest willpower. Let's step into the next section. Bad company. Your environment is either fuel or poison. There's a saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. At first glance, it sounds simple, but the longer I live, the more I realize it's painfully true. I once knew a young man named Ben. Ben was smart, passionate about creativity. He had this brilliant idea of launching a YouTube channel to share financial knowledge. But every time he started to plan, the friends around him would laugh. No one's gonna watch that stuff. Come on, stop overthinking. Just chill with us, it's way more fun. So Ben never launched the channel. He stayed, stuck in a circle of people who never dared to dream big. 3 years later, Ben was still talking about those same ideas. Meanwhile, another friend, less talented but brave enough to begin, now had nearly 200,000 followers. Your environment doesn't just influence you, it shapes you. Sit with people who always complain. Life will start to feel unfair. Sit with people who are always learning. You'll see each day as a new opportunity to grow. Sit with those who live with purpose, and you'll learn to view problems as lessons, not tragedies. And the most important thing is, you don't need to cut anyone off. You just need to reassess how much time and energy you give to each relationship. Choosing the right people doesn't mean choosing the smartest ones. It means choosing the ones who inspire you to become the best version of yourself. Every time you talk to someone, ask yourself, is this conversation fueling me or quietly draining me? Because no matter how strong a tree is, if it's planted in dry soil and rocks, it'll never grow into the shade it was meant to become. And finally, even when you've built a supportive environment, a strong mindset, and all the right habits, there's still one small, but dangerously powerful habit that silently pulls you backward every day. What is it? Let's move to the final section. Complaining mindset, the loop that destroys progress. Have you ever found yourself trapped in this cycle? You wake up feeling tired. It's raining. There's traffic. Deadlines pile up, someone else gets promoted, and you don't. And so, you start to complain. Why is my luck always bad? Why do others get ahead and I get nothing? Complaining might seem harmless, but if you do it often enough, it becomes a lifestyle, a loop that drains your energy, blurs your direction, and quietly shifts responsibility away from you. I once worked with a colleague named Chris. Chris was talented, but he had a small habit. Every day, he'd start by listing 3 things he hated about that day. Traffic, clients, company policy. I asked him, have you tried suggesting anything to make it better? He shook his head. I know it won't change. Complaining just helps me vent. 6 months later, Chris quit. Not because he didn't have opportunities, but because he never learned to seize them. He only knew how to complain about them. Complainers see the problem. Doers see the solution. Who will you choose to be? There will always be things in life that aren't perfect, but complaining doesn't change them. Action does. Next time you feel like complaining, try asking yourself instead, what's one small thing I can do to make this better today? You'll begin to notice a shift, not because your circumstances changed, but because your mindset grew. And that is the final habit, perhaps the most dangerous one of all. Because once you start living with a victim mindset, you forget the one truth that matters most. You are the only person who can rewrite your own story. Now you've seen the 7 habits that silently keep people poor. Disguised laziness, spending everything you earn, fear of risk, lack of discipline, stopping your learning, being surrounded by the wrong people, and a mindset trapped in complaints. But don't worry, these aren't life sentences. They're just doors, and you have the power to close them, so you can finally open a new one, toward a life of ownership, growth, and abundance. You see, poverty isn't just about lacking money. It's about living in a cycle of habits that hold you back, no matter how hard you try. But the beautiful truth is, you can choose again. You can start over. You don't need to change the whole world. You just need to change the way you live, one day at a time. Today, you've learned 7 things that could be silently pulling you down. The harmless-looking habit of procrastination, spending without thinking, the fear of risk that traps you in your comfort zone, lack of discipline that wastes your talent, complacency that stops you from learning, toxic environments that crush your drive, and the mindset of complaining that keeps you stuck when you were meant to move forward. Now it's your turn. Out of these 7 habits, which one are you struggling with? Comment below. We're not here to judge. We're here to grow together, one step at a time. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because here, we don't just talk about success. We talk about the journey of becoming the best version of yourself, little by little, every single day. And finally, never forget this. The future doesn't come from luck. It comes from small choices repeated long enough every day. So, are you ready to choose differently?